This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
So a warm welcome on a very cold Ambion Ngala this morning, and you'll see we've just decided to come and stop here and have a look at this beautiful sunrise. It's probably going to be one of the best that I've seen in quite some time. But it's early part of the morning. What we're trying to do now is also listen out to hear if there's any noises maybe during the night and early like on in this morning. But for now, jump on board on this live safari here in the African bush. So before we carry on, I just want to move slightly back. There's a giraffe that just moved onto the scene. Here we go. So it was so funny. Earlier on, we saw the giraffe, and as the sun was rising, we wanted to quickly get a view of this giraffe, but of course, he just moved in behind this tree, so we couldn't see him. But for now, I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala. I'm going to be your ranger for this morning, and with me on the camera is Owen. So hopefully we can try and get some of these beautiful animals on camera this morning. So just having a look at this giraffe, it's quite a dark colored giraffe, and if you notice the very top of the head, you'll notice these two very bold patches as it's feeding. Luckily it's like facing away from us. But so it's just a sign that it is a male giraffe. Now, the males do have this technique where they often fight with each other, known as necking. So they'll fight for mating rights. And whenever they fight, they hit each other with their heads. And of course, those horns are then worn down, and hence those two bold patches that you see at the top. But for now, early part of the morning, I think he's just focusing on having a nice breakfast. You might just hear some of the birds. Michelle, it's just such a beautiful pink hue at the moment. And it's all nice. I mean, the different contrasts of color. I mean, you look at the pink, you look at the gray at the top, the green of all the trees, and then, of course, that beautiful dark contrast with the giraffe. Like, almost blends in with the shade and the shadows pretty well. But even notice his legs. Like, if you look at that giraffe in general, you'll notice that the top, going down to the legs, it starts very dark, and then as you go down, you have these light patches towards the feet. And even between the legs, you find quite a bit of white, yellowish color. You can even see as it fades off towards the head, you'll see them like yellow, and then towards the head you find more and more whites. Just have a look at how he's carefully selecting some of the leaves. All you can see is just the branches moving. Like almost like a very skilled in what he does, like just quickly picking with his lips, and then if he can't get it with lips, just wrapping his tongue around, like stripping some of the leaves off. I think for now I'm going to just spend some time with this giraffe, and then from here on slowly carry on. But in the meantime, let's go say hello to Damon, as apparently he also has a spotted cat there.
Hello, hello, and a very warm welcome to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon, and behind the camera we've got Marcel this morning. And we've come out this morning to go and check up on that mother cheetah and her two youngsters, and they haven't moved far. Of course, this is a live and interactive safari, so please do get in touch with us. If you have any questions or any comments, please send them through using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Or if you're under the age of 18, you can email your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. How special is this? This mother cheetah and her two youngsters. The sun hasn't even come up yet. Absolutely beautiful setting. And having a look at their tummies, you may remember yesterday that those two little cubs looked fit to burst after their very hearty meal of impala. That their mother, here comes maybe a little game. So I was just about to say, their tummies might still be a little bit full, but this is often the time when cheetah cubs can be at their most playful, when they've got the comfort of mom being here, they've got full tummies. We've seen a little bit of play so far from these two. Oh no, never mind. They got our hopes up. But it's amazing to see, and I'm hoping that mom stands up just now and just moves a bit so we can see her tummy. But it's quite remarkable to see, just over the couple of hours since we last saw her, how much her belly has kind of compressed, if you will. That just shows how fast these animals' metabolisms work. And one of the reasons why they've got to gorge themselves when they are able to eat, and then conserve as much energy thereafter. Elizabeth, you're saying that they are just so cute. Elizabeth, I can't get enough of them. Especially with them being so affectionate and so playful towards each other. Oh, and the scene is just about to get even more beautiful, everyone. The sun looks like it's just about to peak above the horizon out to the east. Look at the glow in the clouds there. The sun coming up over the Indian Ocean and over the Maputo-land coastal plain. Oh, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Sorry to be cliche, but cue the Lion King music. Oh my word, that's insane. Just listen to the sounds of the sunrise as well in the background. Hear the birds calling. And if you can hear that rasping sound, that jet, 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 jet sound, there's a chagra that's in a bush behind us, and it's now attracted some dark-capped bulbuls. And the way that they're going on, they're calling and calling and calling. I suspect that there might be a snake in that bush where they're all calling. So maybe just now, once we've enjoyed the sunrise, we might head over there to see if we can spot what the source of their worries is. Oh, look at that, the sun coming up through the clouds. Those rays of light above the sun. Sarah, you say, wow. Wow indeed, Sarah. It's really, really pretty. And what timing as well. Amazing that we got to watch that first little bit of yellow kind of break the horizon. Quite fortunate that there's that bank of clouds as well, otherwise we'd be blinded. While we carry on enjoying this beautiful scene, let's head across to Steve, who's found a giraffe.
Good morning, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we, like Nikki, have also found a few giraffe. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing this morning? I hope you are having the most wonderful morning out and about. We are trying to pick up on signs of Thandi that were left in and around this area last night. We thought we'd come through the Mawati to have a little look to see maybe if she's hanging around the old den site that she's used before. Trish found her not far from there, and we've found two beautiful giraffe. And very interesting indeed that the giraffe at the moment is busy feeding on tambuti. Now, a lot of people have dealt with me on the show and dealt with the tambuti tree that we spoke about, toxicity. It has got white milky latex and it is poisonous. And you see, I only had a few mouthfuls. Now off he goes. So there must be something to the tambuti that the giraffe can manage. It might assist in maybe cleansing the bowels or something like that. Maybe he's got something in there he wants to eradicate. So they will feed on a little bit of tambuti, but you only really find it towards this time of year when the tambuti starts to lose its coloration. And probably the leaves start reabsorbing, or the plant reabsorbing the latex back in. And there he had a nibble of a buffalo thorn afterwards, and now it looks like he's going to go over to another tree. So we're going to work this area a little bit, everybody, see if we can find any tracks of Thandi. And we're going to send you over to Trishala, who's found some impala.
It is a wonderful impala ram in front of the rising sun. Look at that beautiful silhouette. There was a whole line of them walking right in front of it. It was just amazing. Oh! Lovely. Can be any animal whatsoever if you're fortunate enough to have them walking in front of the setting sun or rising sun. They just look stunning. Awesome. Well, they're actually going towards where Steve had those tracks for Thandi and Cub. So good luck to him. And my name is Trishala, and guess who I've got on camera this morning? It is Theo. Look at that thumb. And as you can see, he's been doing it very well. He's been learning about all the animals as well. And have you been having fun, Theo? He's nodding. I told him he can answer me, but he says he'd like to nod. So we are just driving around for today, or this morning. No big plans, or at least not yet. Hello, crested barbet. Oh, he's just there. Alarm calls. I want one more for direction. Oh. His little crest is quite bouncy. Look at that. Look at it. Bob, bob, bob. A bit of Tina Turner going on. Let's just go up to the junction very quickly and just look down Philemon's Dip because grey go away birds are going. See what I did there? And there was one alarm call. One alarm call. I mean, generally you want more. That's why I was waiting for a second. But let's just peek down because Steve is working that area. All right, let me send you over to that cheetah family. In the meantime, let's find out what's on this side.
We do have a spectacular view. The light has just started to trickle down onto this mother cheetah and her two cubs. It is a very, very, very pretty scene. Mom ever vigilant, scanning around. The cubs, as per usual, look like they're passed out. I think that the little bit of excitement that we had earlier of the two chasing each other around might have worn off a little bit. But oh, here we go. Yeah, both cubs' heads now flat on the ground. I'm thinking though that, like we said, these cheetah with their full bellies haven't really got that urge now, that need to move around and go and try to hunt something to keep themselves sustained. And so I think there's a pretty good chance that this mother cheetah and her youngsters are just going to take it easy here in this open clearing for the morning. When the sun comes out, they'll be able to lie in the sun and warm up. It's not a particularly cold morning, but there is a bit of a chilly breeze blowing in. So I'm sure once they do get a bit of light onto them, they'll take some comfort in lying in the warmth of the sun. Just having a look at those two youngsters, when that... he's just moved now, but the youngster closest to us, I don't know if you're able to see, he was sleeping with his paw on his sister's back. And even now, looking at him from this profile, we said that Mum looked like her belly had deflated a bit. James, you're saying that time with this cheetah family is a great way to spend the morning. James, I couldn't agree with you more. I would spend all day with these cheetah if I could. I was just going to say, that young male, the youngster that's got his back to us now, I said that Mom's belly had looked like it had gotten a little bit smaller overnight. His belly still looks very, very, very fat though. Not quite as big as yesterday. He doesn't look like he's in danger of rupturing a blood vessel in his stomach. But he is still super full. Oh, here comes the sun. The glorious golden rays all over the cheetah. Just magnificent. There we go. Paw, back legs back on sister's back. Very comfortable little footrest. It was quite interesting to see as well, everybody, when we initially found these cheetah a little bit earlier, they were slowly moving along, and it was interesting and exciting to see as well how when they came upon a small group of impala hadn't seen them yet, and we, of course, with their bellies being full, we weren't expecting them to really try to hunt them, but Mum started to initiate a little bit of a stalk, and when she did that, the young male also started to stalk. Initially he sat down and he saw Mum go into that stalking mode, as any good cub should do. Sit back and wait for Mum, don't get in the way. And he sat down for a while, but then he almost tried to when the impala moved away a bit, he almost tried to get involved as well. He tried to kind of outflank the impala as they moved away. And of course, at this age, he's much too small to try and tackle an impala, or even to be much help when it comes to pulling down an adult impala. But it's promising signs, and it's good to see that he's already at this age taking interest in wanting to be a part of this hunt, or of a hunt. And it's this kind of behavior at this young age that will help him to develop as a hunter for one day when he goes off on his own. While we enjoy our cheetah in this beautiful golden light, let's quickly go across to Mike so that he can say good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. From wherever you are around the world, we are enjoying a beautiful view of the Drakensberg escarpment this morning as we wait for the bushveld to wake up, as we listen to the dawn chorus and enjoy the sunrise over the crests, overlooking the wonderful Pridelands Eco Training Conservancy. My name is Michael Anderson. Behind the camera is Gert. And yes, we're taking a moment just to appreciate the beauty of this natural bush in front of us here. And it's absolutely gorgeous this morning. It's still cold, very cold. But the cold is actually good. It means sounds travel very far. So we're actually sitting here, taking the time just to listen to the bush and see what signs we have, what sounds we have. It's a really wonderful way to start the morning. Actually, there's a saying from Ernest Hemingway. I don't know if I know it exactly, but he said there was never a morning he woke up in Africa and was not happy. And I agree with it. It's totally true. There's not a single morning that I've ever woken up anywhere on safari or in Africa where I didn't think that the day was full of amazing and wonderful opportunities. I can't wait to see what amazing and wonderful animals we see this morning. We've seen a few impalas, seen a giraffe, seen lots of tracks and signs. So we're going to head down to Leopard Dam in a moment and see what animals. We saw some hippo tracks as well. So maybe those 3 hippos that were there the other day, maybe they've come back during the night. They've maybe foraged around looking for some grass or any other potential water holes. And now they've maybe headed back to Leopard Dam. We'll go and check that. And of course, any other animals that might come down to drink. Melanie is saying that she's never thought about mountains in Africa apart from Kilimanjaro. Melanie, there are lots of mountain ranges in Africa, although it's not known for it, because of course most of the time when you watch documentaries or you see movies about Africa, it's those amazing open vast plains of East Africa, the Serengeti and the Masai Mara ecosystems. But of course we've got a number of massive mountain ranges here in South Africa. This one that you're looking at now is the Drakensberg Mountains, which are the largest mountains in South Africa, stretching almost 1,000 kilometers all the way from here in the Kruger Park down to KwaZulu-Natal on the south and east coast, which is amazing. And these are very, very tall mountains, some parts of it more than 2,000 meters above sea level. So that's a significant mountain range. On the very, very coldest days in winter, you might even just about see some snow-capped peaks, but I haven't seen that for a very long time. And certainly around the Cape, you have the Cape Fold Mountains, the Cederbergs. There's a whole bunch of different mountain ranges. It's amazing. South Africa specifically has got a huge and vast amount of different habitats and ecosystems. I mean, from here, where we are now at Pridelands, along the western edge of the Kruger National Park, we can, within a few hours, go from the bushveld, which we have now, up to mountain grasslands and really proper evergreen forest along the mist belt at about 1,000 meters above sea level. So there's some incredible stuff to be seen just from right over here. So it's an amazing variety of ecosystems, and that's why we have such a huge array of different animals and plant species. You know, I think South Africa is really a hotspot throughout the world in terms of animals and plant life and bird life as well. Just from where we are here, we can have almost 300 different species of birds, and that's in winter. Well, we're going to head down to Leopard Dam and see what's going on there. In the meantime, go and enjoy some cheetah.
It looks like the little male has just stood up, everybody, or sat up rather. And just looking out over the grassland behind us, look at that beautiful face. Those wonderful little black tear lines that come down from his eyes to his muzzle. Oh, back down. Once again, huddled up really tightly with his sister there, keeping warm in this wind. Not that they'll need to cuddle up too much. I mean, it's cold for us because we've got our bare skin without very much fur on it. These animals covered in that coat of fur that will help to keep them warm against the cold. And while they're lying there, everybody, have a look at the mother cheetah. So while she lies with her back to us, we've spoken a couple of times about how beautiful and rich that lovely golden coat is, and about how well that would camouflage her into long grass, or if she was lying in the shade of a bush, and how she would just vanish into the grass and into the shadows. But have a look now that she's looking to the right. Have a look at her throat and her chest, and even the insides of her legs. Look at how bright white that color is. Very stark contrast to her back, and it sticks out like a sore thumb on the grass. And very, very conspicuous. And that's one of the many ways that we can use to spot cheetah if we're busy searching for them. If they're lying with their bellies towards us, it's often that bit of white that we look for. And it's not just cheetah. I'm sure you've noticed before with lions and with leopards as well. They've all got that very bright white underside that even from a distance, if they're lying with their belly facing towards you, makes them quite conspicuous. Of course, if a cheetah is busy stalking an impala, it's not likely to see its white belly. Tim, you're asking how many litters of cubs a cheetah could have in her lifetime. So, Tim, I suppose it would depend on how old she lives to be. Because, I mean, as we've discussed quite a couple of times, even though there are kind of life expectancies that are given by books and by scientific papers and stuff, you never really know, and especially with an animal like a cheetah, I mean, they could live to be 5 years, they could live to be 10 years, but let's say, for example, if a female lived to be about 10 years old, that would be quite a good age, I suppose, for a female cheetah to live to. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, is the age of the oldest female cheetah on our reserve. She's close to that age. And so if she can breed for the first time at about 2 or 2.5 years old, then thereafter have cubs kind of every 2 years thereafter. So at 2.5, at 4.5, at 6.5, at 8.5, and maybe if she's lucky, again at 10.5. So I would say if she's lucky, or if she's very successful, maybe 4 litters of cubs in her life. It's normally at about 18 months that these cubs will go independent from her, and then about 6 months later, or a little bit after that those cubs go independent, that she'll then have her next litter of cubs.
We found a ribbon, and I think Ndebele. And they've just been lying up here. So we're in the junction of Mvubu and Gallego shortcut, the one that goes to the pan. And for them to be lying up like this, they smell something. Let's go a little bit forward. They're waiting. And they smell something. They're following their noses. They're going straight through a very large block at the moment. No! These guys don't like to be followed. There they go. So for me, this would indicate that they can smell a carcass and they're trying to sniff it out. Morning ablutions, lots of morning ablutions going on between these two. And Ndebele is very, very pale. Especially when you see her compared to Ribbon, when they were next to each other, you saw just how pale she is. If there is a kill around, the leopard whose kill it is would hoist it. Especially at this point, if they can smell or see approaching hyenas. You'll find in areas where there are not many hyenas, spotted hyenas, leopards will not even hoist their kills because they don't have to deal with the competition on the ground. It's in those areas that leopards can make very, very big, large kills, like in Eland. Ones that they won't be able to hoist. Alright, off they go. I think we're going to go up to the fire break and see if they pop out, to see at least if we can see them. And if we can see them, then maybe we can just watch them for a little bit and see if there's any other movement and activity around. Michelle, you say those hyenas are definitely on a mission. 100%. On a mission, straight to the northern boundary. What could it be? What could it be? Just having a look to see if I've got any tracks here. But I don't. It's actually quite a nice time to look, apart from the fact that I'm burned my retinas. But because of the sun behind it, behind this block, the trees are really nicely silhouetted. And if there is a leopard in it with a kill, we are likely to see it. So, I hope that we will, but I'm going to send you over to Nicky, see what he's getting up to this morning.
So we'll also love to find some leopard this morning. I just want to have a look. There's some tracks here. It might look like tracks of a lioness. So just an update for some of our viewers in regards to the young lioness with the small youngsters. So we haven't seen her in quite some time. But yesterday we have found some tracks crossing into the reserve with her and two of the youngsters. So they at least are all, I'm sure, looking good. And we have currently Richard and Ernie, so the two trackers are going to head in that direction to see if there's any signs of them, or possibly the pride for us either this morning or this afternoon. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and while they're doing that, we're actually going to scan this area and see if there's any signs of leopard. And I just want to have another look at that track we saw earlier as well. So now what I might just do, just want to go back a little bit here. I think I might just stop like this. I know it might be hard to see. Sorry, I just need to take my blanket off. Might be hard to see, but I'm going to try and see if we can get it with the camera. Now, there's quite a big, just want to see if I saw that track earlier on of the line. Okay, so I just want to come back There was a track of a lion that I saw heading down in this direction. I just want to see if I can find it again. I think I might have just driven over it. Huh. Just had the track right now. Well, anyway, we're going to carry on with our drive. And see if we can find some more. There was a track of lion, but I think as I reverse, I might have accidentally just driven over it. So let's carry on with our drive, and hopefully we can find the real animal. And then also then from there on, I'll show you the tracks if we find some more. But it is a beautiful day, nice and so it is a nice, beautiful morning, nice and cool, and just super excited to be out this morning. So it was like, I needed to tell everyone the story. So it was so funny because this morning it just felt like when we did the intro, we wanted to get this beautiful sunrise, and then at the same time there was a giraffe, but then the giraffe, as they said we're going live, moved behind the bush. We tried to get both of it, and at that moment we just heard like live, and both myself and Owen just went like okay. So look, giraffe, and so I do apologize if it sounded very confusing, but it was because there was just so much happening. The area that we're going in now, you'll notice from the landscape how it's all starting to change. So you'll find there's quite a few of these beautiful trees known as terminalia. So this is the one that you can use in order to make a rope, but I just wanted to point something out here. The other day we had a bit of a discussion by knowing the area or the type of soil, you'll know what type of plants you get there, and from that the type of animals. Now within this area, it's a very sandy section, and this tree normally grows on a sandy section. So then from here on, as you go down, all the nutrients start washing down to these drainage systems, which is right in front of us here. So you might even see as we go down, there'll be more and more trees and a lot more greenery as we get closer towards the river. And sometimes because of that, you might find that some of the animals will start heading down to the river because the grass might be sweeter. There might be more food around for the other common animals. And hopefully, as the viewers are saying, we can find some of the big cats that we are looking out for this morning. So let's slowly carry on. There's a chance also for wild dogs. This is an area where wild dogs would often move into. So let us carry on, and then as I go and explore some of these other areas, we're going to send you back to Steve, because apparently he's also doing some tracking of his own.
Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm off the vehicle. Oh my word, we have got tracks all over the road here, all over the road. Lioness tracks you can see over here, cub tracks over here. We've been following the Pride up the road here to a junction I'm very familiar with. Now there's impalas shouting just over there. Yes, impalas are shouting. Everybody get on board. The whole Pride has walked through here. We had tracks of a lioness earlier, and now we got impalas that we're going to go in. We're allowed to go in when we hear alarm calls. Now, see if we can spot. And it's always very exciting when we find these animals. Alarm calls are so important out here. I am driving over a couple of bushes, but they do pop up behind me. We found those tracks down at the bottom of the road, and we thought, oh, these are fresh. And as we've been following them, it's just gotten fresher and fresher. But generally, once the alarm calls happen, the predators move off. I hope it is the Nkuhumas hunting and not, well, if it's a leopard hunting, I'll be fine with that as, yes, we got them. Raymond has got eagle eyes, everybody. He's about 6 inches taller than... Oh, hello! Hello, everybody! Hello, Nkuhumas. How you doing? I told you those tracks were fresh, everybody. They were very fresh. Niels is just wiping the screen, everyone. It's a little bit condensed this morning. Hello, lions. I'm just going to let the world know, everybody, that we have found these lions in a moment. Let's just enjoy it first. It never gets old. Never gets old picking up tracks. I'm going to keep quiet for a moment. See if you can hear that impala. He's still shouting at these guys. You hear that? And when the alarm calls happen, predators will just feign sort of complete disinterest. Complete disinterest. Love it. I'm just going to let Johan know because he was quite interested. Station's located in Nkuhuma Pride on just off Zoe's Balanites, just on the eastern side of the road. How awesome.
Well done.
Thanks, Johan. Are you going to make your way? Copied. Okay, everybody. So we've got some grooming happening. An impala's shouting. And I can hear some belly rumbles of some elephants not far away. Standing by. Excuse me, everybody. Oh my word, everybody. Well, it is the same junction that I picked up the tracks that first time. Then continued on a little bit further. And had that oh my word moment that Niels at the back here still chuckling about. I know many of you are. If you haven't seen it, I have no doubt one of the viewers will repost it shortly. Very similar circumstances, very similar time of year actually. It was July last year when I came back from the Mara. That's been a year ago. How splendid. But we've caught the lions at the perfect time. It is if those tracks were just getting fresher and fresher. And they've probably been hunting a little bit. It's possible that there might even have been a small meal involved at some point, but it doesn't actually look like it. But they're still alert. They're still awake. You can tell they've still been moving through the night. And they did a huge loop yesterday. But really, for lions, it's not a very big loop. Coffee Queen, I've yet to actually count the lionesses all together. Yesterday, I think it was, day before, Trishala had 4 or 5 of the lionesses with 9 cubs. And then we were tracking 3 or 4 lionesses that went all the way to the west. We started the morning with a track of a lioness coming in from the west, so it's very likely that one is trying to find the pride. But it seems as if, because when there's this many, there should be 8 lionesses in total. When there's this many, especially when the Avoca males, Amber Eyes, there's Amber Eyes, she's here. She's like, no, I'm done producing milk for you little things. What can you smell, Amber Eyes? She's the biggest. She's not the oldest, but she's the biggest. But currently I can count 3 lionesses at the moment. As you saw, we've just arrived in the sighting, so we will reposition shortly so as to give you a view of them all. But with 8 lionesses, 9 cubs, and 2 very big, hungry males that seem to be tagging along, the pride splits off, and so that they can get enough food to eat. But we'll reposition. When you come back, hopefully we'll be able to count all of them.
Welcome back, everybody. And we're still with our family of cheetah. We just repositioned ever so slightly to try and get them more in the golden light for you. And while we've been sitting here, we noticed that, oh, look at the cubs and how playful they're being, but also look at what Mom's doing. See how she's licking that female cub there around her back leg. We had a close look when she sat up, and it looked like she had got had a little injury in between her back legs. It looks like the skin has been ripped off. And that's now where Mom is busy licking. She doesn't want her brother licking there. I'm wondering if it's not maybe a little injury from playing. Certainly the last time we saw her, she didn't have it. It doesn't look serious, it just looks like something superficial, a bit of skin that's been grazed away, but there is a bit of blood there. So perhaps she was climbing up into a tree and then fell out and got her leg caught as she was falling down. Or perhaps she even tried to get involved with the kill yesterday. Remember we said that, or we found that impala carcass that we guessed that the mother cheetah had killed, and then we found them so fat in the afternoon, so perhaps the little female tried to get involved and maybe got kicked by the impala's sharp hooves. She does not want her brother she doesn't want her brother trying to lick it and clean it there. But yeah, so it doesn't look too serious. It looks very superficial. She's walking around normally, so I don't think anything to be concerned about. But Mom is taking a keen interest in the wound, obviously wanting to look after her little one. Luke, you're saying cats will be cats? Absolutely. I'm sure that it was either play related or maybe her trying in the hunt. And like I said, it doesn't look serious, and so I don't think it's something that we need to be too worried about. She'll probably recover from it pretty quickly, especially knowing that she's walking normally. She's not going to be lagging behind, because that would of course be the biggest problem with an injury. Would be her lagging behind or not being able to keep up with her mother, not being able to run away if they encountered something dangerous. I think we're going to spend a little bit more time with these cheetah, and I'm hoping that as the sun warms them up a bit more, that they become a little bit more active.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Welcome back. We are sitting now at Leopard Dam, waiting to see if anything comes down. We saw a duiker a moment ago. It seems to be a little bit shy, though. It's chosen to drink where we can't see it. It did see us sitting here, and it made its way away from an open patch to a slightly more shaded, sheltered spot. But still very, very beautiful here. Very quiet, very still. The water is glassy. A few birds coming down to drink. It's actually really, really wonderful to just sit at a waterhole. I've often said before, I'd love to string up a hammock and just sit at a waterhole. It's one of the best things to do. Sometimes when you're on an all-day safari, you can just go and, the earlier part of the day when animals are active, you drive around, but then once it gets warm, just sit at a waterhole and see what comes down. It's absolutely fabulous. I'm sure many of you have waterholes, ponds, dams where you live, and it's always fun to just sit by them. Just enjoying the calm morning. Although I did see something earlier which was quite interesting. I was pointing out to Gert the Red Bill Buffalo Weaver's nest. Right, so we were just talking about how we never actually see the buffalo weavers in it. We always hear them and we see them flying around, but they're not in it. Maybe they're not nesting right now. But then I said to him, it looks a little bit like a bodybuilder that's puffing his chest out and doing a gun show flex there. And I thought it looks quite funny. Gerd didn't find it very impressive. But then again, Gerd is also not impressed by the sticks as much as I am, I suppose. But I think it's really cool. I mean, look at that nest. It doesn't look like it's been well thought out by the weavers. But what's interesting is that they've actually got little holes and tunnels all over that lead to chambers inside. So there can be as many as a dozen red-billed buffalo weavers that nest inside there. And I'm sure it will be surprisingly sheltered in there, even from the rain. What they often do is they've made the sticks, they've made a little hollow, and they often line that hollow with feathers, leaves, and all sorts of little branches that help to make it more or less waterproof in there. So even in the heaviest downpours, the chicks that might be inside that nest are fairly well insulated from the weather. And then what often happens, which probably adds to their protection, is that larger birds, like geese and even sometimes fish eagles, will put their nests on top. And then when they defecate, when they put their own sticks and downy feathers to insulate their chicks, it adds more and more protection to the red-billed buffalo weavers. That there is actually where the goose, we often see it sitting. It's off gallivanting for the morning at the moment. Faye says it looks like King Kong. Faye, I agree, it's totally King Kong. When he's about to beat on his chest to say he's claimed this tree. This tree is basically the Empire State Building from the movie, and Kong is climbing it and exclaiming how much he has dominion over this tree and this waterhole. I love your imagination, Faye. It rivals my own, I think. On mornings like this, when it's quiet and still, you can let your imagination run wild with you, and I love it. It's always nice to be a dreamer. I wonder what will be around the next corner. We heard some interesting sounds coming off around us. Maybe a buffalo's. Maybe there's a buffalo or two around here. Perhaps there's other large animals moving through the drainage line. We never know. Never know. What's around the corner? See the water hole there at the back there, just past where the weaver's nest is. There's a mud wallow, so we often see the elephants coming down and mud wallowing there. There was 3 elephant bulls yesterday afternoon that mud wallowed down there. It's getting shallower though, this water hole, so the water is getting colder and colder. So less and less animals are actually coming to actually wallow in the mud. It's not so pleasant when it's super cold. So whilst we leave the waterhole and investigate any of the sounds around here, we'll send you back over to Steve, who's settling in with the lions.
Thanks, Mike. That must be a new species, King Kong, in the bush. Well, we're with our lionesses, still everybody. We've thought about repositioning, but we realize we are in the best position at the moment, and Raymond's managed to count 4 lionesses, and we still don't have a proper tally on the cubs, but we'll keep it going. It's always nice to count and see who's who and how many are around, as you know. But there are some elephants nearby, as I said. Raymond just said to me before that he reckons because the elephants are on our western side, that probably prevented the lions from going any further. Elephants do not like lions for the most part. They often will chase them. This is always a fun time of day. The grooming that takes place amongst the lions, the tactile communication. We don't know what has transpired in the night. We don't know if they've made a kill. We don't know if they've been interacting with hyenas, if they've tried hunting. The tracks indicate them coming straight up the road from Philemonskatlan. And then at the junction with Balanites, they went into the block, and they probably attempted a few impala here, but the impala were wise to their movements. There we go. That little one has received a thorough bathing. It's now time to come and pester its siblings. So you see the mange on that one on the left just walked out of shot. The mange was looking really bad when I came here 2 months ago. But it's looking so much better than it did. It's almost like it's growing back around. Lisa, you want to know why they do so much grooming? Well, it's not that they do all day grooming. Lions will groom after every kill. Once they're settled, they will groom and clean themselves, clean all the blood off. And when they wake up as well, if they've had a long nap, they'll often sit up and groom. It's just kind of what they do, you know. It's some very feline sort of trait. Prepare themselves for the day, you see. Go and put on their makeup and brush their hair, clean the dirt from under their nails, and then get ready for another afternoon. So it's almost like preparing yourself for sleep. You quite often see them doing it before sleep and sometimes after sleep. But sometimes if they're hunting and they spend a lot of time hunting and then they just get tired, they'll just sleep. There won't be any grooming that happens. So to me, it almost seems as if there has been a meal at some point, something quite small, because they get that sort of licky vibe. They want to lick everything, lick everybody, and get the blood off of each other. So it's a very important part of their daily routine. And when it comes to lions, it's also a very important part in their social bonding, because as said before, when they do make a kill, especially when the pride is very strong and very big, there's enormous amounts of competition. And they smash each other. They hit each other, they claw each other, they bite, they pull, they push. And afterwards, they'll often go and sit and rub heads and clean each other and say, I'm sorry I was so mean earlier. I was just hungry. Just hungry. I've got some friends like that. If you try and take food off their plate, you will get bitten. And while the food is still around, they are like that. And afterwards they realize, sorry, my animal instincts came forward. So you've got to be very careful playing with people's food. I'm just going to have a quick chat on the radio, everybody. Standing by. You're welcome, Elvis. Just Ballinati's Mendoza Junction, a little bit on the eastern side of that. Come north into the block. They're lying up here. Okay, so there's a few more cubs at the back. Have you managed to count? I'm trying to do a count, but they're puddling. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sure all the cubs are here. Let's go around there, Niels. Let's see if we can get those lionesses at the back there that's busy with the cubs. Okay, so we're going to reposition and get you another view of these wonderful cats. And while we do that, let's send you over to the west to say good morning to Dylan and Jandre.
Good morning from what is a totally awesome day out here. I've just got this good feeling. Jandre's with us working his magic on the camera there, and my name's Dylan. It is fantastic as always having you with us. I really hope that you enjoy this morning. We are going to the meerkats, but first we're going to try and find that wildcat that we just missed yesterday. I know it's a long chance, but I've got a really good feeling about this morning. I don't know why. Sometimes I get these good feelings and then, yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But, it's always just good being out, and I really hope that I can show you at least a decent sighting of a wildcat, because they are quite elusive little creatures. But let's hold thumbs and toes and arms and legs and anything else we can hold. And let's see what we can get. And like I say, this area that we're working for this wildcat is very close to where the meerkats are. It's only in a straight line distance. It's probably 900 meters from maybe a kilometer
from where the meerkats are. So it's all nice and close. So we won't miss any action at the meerkat burrows either. But this time of day is really, really good. It's just often these animals have peak activities at different times of the day, and this early morning just before sunrise is one of those peaks. So they'll be doing a little bit of last minute hunting, and then they're going to head back to bed. And sometimes they sleep up in these big sociable weaver nests. Other times they'll sleep down old aardvark burrows, disused burrows, and they can actually even use quite small holes. I've seen them sleeping inside hollow tree stems as well before. So they're not big cats, and they can pretty much fit into all sorts of little spaces. But those are the kind of things that we're going to be looking for. But I'm hoping these big open grasslands that we're going to be in shortly, in the next 5 minutes, that we'll actually be able to get at least a glimpse of one out that side. And if we don't get it, it's still worth trying, and it's still great being out here. Oh wow, the sun's not up yet, but it's just creeping through the valleys to the left-hand side over there. You'll just see the sun later as we're coming around here. When we're in the open areas, you'll get a good view of the sunrise along the hills.
So the little things we found are red-billed quelea, and these birds are literally the most numerous bird in the whole world. And something Gert and I have been noticing over the last few days is that their small flocks are becoming bigger and bigger, sometimes many hundreds of the birds flying together. And I know certainly that when the season is right, coming closer to spring, you might find sometimes flocks of thousands and thousands of these birds all together, and they get their breeding colors. The males will get a bright red beak and a black face, and they actually very pretty little birds. Right now just sunning themselves. Once they get warm enough, they'll start flying down into the grass and feeding on seeds that they find. So right now all the grasses are very, very dry, and the seeds are cracking open, the little husks, and the seeds are falling out, so the birds can eat all those. So these red-billed queleas used to have flocks of millions and millions. In fact, some places they probably still do have flocks of millions. Oh, they're all about to fly off. And they have to be very, very careful, because birds of prey love these flocks of birds. They'll fly in and swoop in and grab these birds on the wing. And that's why these birds actually occur in these huge flocks, is a sort of a protective mechanism. When they all fly together, they make these amazing patterns called murmurations, which look very cool. Anyway, we're going to keep moving on from these quelea if they fly off. I'm going to send you over to Trishala, who's got quite a rare bird.
Look at this. It's a little bee eater. Gorgeous little bee eater. So nice to see. Swinging its tail, pondering, pondering. Do you see any insect that you like to take? Not yet. It looks like Dylan and I in the morning if we've had a coffee on top of being ourselves. So many things to look at. Well, considering just had a squirrel, I can still hear a squirrel alarm calling just near Gallego Pan. We're just gonna stand by and listen for a little bit longer. I was saying to you that considering that they hunt flying insects, Michelle, oh, there you go. I was just gonna chat to you about it. You said, do these guys actually eat bees? Yes. They like bees and they like wasps, but they'll target any flying insect. And if you are after a flying insect who is moving erratically and quickly, then you'd need to be on constant alert with your head moving all the time. Did I see something? Didn't I see something? Was it a bee? And what they'll tend to do is they'll go and swoop and catch something, and then they'll perch right back on that branch. So they're quite nice to watch once you find one. And so much of the time, birds will just fly away. Especially when Emma says, live, live. That's the bird's cue to fly away. And with these ones, it's quite nice because they return to this perch. So we get a good view. Isn't that pretty? This is a very, very accommodating little bee eater. Hasn't tried to make Theo's life difficult yet. Too sweet. Tiny little things. They're only about 15 grams. I was going to say grand. No, you cannot purchase one for 15 grand. But they are about 15 grams. I'm hearing a lot of bird chatter / screeching around Gallego Pan. But you'll find when there is a predator around, it tends to be consistent, like that squirrel, just one little or just one alarm call generally doesn't indicate a large roaming cat. I had a question about the swinging of the tail, Emma. Ah, safari lover. You'd like to know why their tail is constantly swinging? I'm not sure. I really didn't or haven't read something specifically to the wagging tail. But for me, in terms of physics, with the constant moving of the head, the wagging tail might actually act as a way to balance itself. But that would be my suggestion. I'm going to have to check it out for you, safari lover. Let's have a look if the Roberts Bird app has anything to say about this. La 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 la. Sits upright with tail pointing straight down and wagging up and down. And that is all it says. Well, we're going to have to do some research. And I'll have to tell you this afternoon, so you're going to have to watch Sunset Safari. So I'm going to send you over to Steve. In the meantime, I'm going to check out what is causing these birds to be so noisy at Gallego Pan.
Imbalance, that's it, Trish. So everybody, we repositioned again and got you into a wonderful position with these lions. Checking out the herd of elephant that's moving across us over here. And it was two of the younger lionesses that were going, and then decided, Now they've gone back again. And they're lying over there in a puddle, but they can't help themselves. There's movement. They're like, it's like your cat at home can be fully fed, but you'll do something with your hand and still has to try catch it. Maybe I'll go through here. Niels, how's that going to work? Look at the best of it all here. So lovely to be with lions, so alert and so attentive like they are. So we actually counted 5 adult females. Tell me when you're happy, Niels. Right there. We actually counted 5 adults. And the cubs, I think I'm now going to be able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 at the moment. And they're all very interested in 1, 2, 3, 10. You can't have 10. Raymond is counting 10. Okay, I've got another one now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got all 9 cubs, everybody. Got all 9 cubs, which is very exciting. I think that calls for a coffee. Look at this lioness. She can't help herself. She's a youngster. Her behavior there is now being mimicked by the cubs over her shoulder. Niels, can you see the cubs just above her? They're all mimicking her exactly, and there's actually a young elephant that's coming through. So it's not impossible for lions to attack elephants and to basically go for youngsters, especially if the youngsters are isolated. And we can't show it to you now. The youngsters are a little bit isolated from the herd there, but there are some big mamas around. But one thing that I must just warn you about is that if something does happen here and the lions do decide they want to go for an elephant, we've got to be very careful, because what happens with elephants is they can have what we call a displacement sort of anger. And the lions, that could cause the elephants a bit of confusion and a bit of misgivings, a few misgivings, could end up turning their attention on us. So it's very important that we are clear with you right now. And if we have to move out, we will move out. But I don't foresee, see the young lionesses are looking, but the adults have decided they're going to move away. They know better. And all the youngsters are looking at the adults going, okay, yeah, we're going to move. They know better than to mess with elephants. All of you are saying, oh, wow. Well, indeed, that is an oh, my word moment for the lions. The cubs, this is a lesson for them to learn. They've been looking at something moving, and they're going, but don't we hunt things that move? And now they're watching and looking as the adults all move back further into Djuma, which is great. And basically, they learned, without actually experiencing any negativity from the elephants, that, well, the big females are scared of this. Let's move away. So that's a life lesson learned right there. Very, very important life lesson. And so we are going to just back out again and see if we can follow them across the road. They're not going to go too far. They might even try and skirt around these ellies, but we'll have a look. So we're going to see if we can get into a better view with these lions. And it sounds like Mike has got some elephants of his own.
So we do have some elephants. We left the waterhole, as you know, and we followed up on that sounds that we heard in the distance, and we found our lovely group of bull elephants. Quite a large number of them. Must be about 7 or 8 that I can see. And they are all fairly large bulls. This one in particular that we've got in the frame is quite a large bull, but as you can see, there's a number of them around us, and they're all feeding on these sparse bushes. In fact, one of them just in front of us is using his tusks to quite effective. He's using them quite effectively to lift up and push around this fallen tree to get to some of the grassy green shoots that are just beneath it. Very, very clever how they use their tusks. But they're all moving fairly slowly and calmly because it is still quite cold. In fact, the first bull that we were looking at, I think, was actually asleep, or at least dozing. They do that sometimes, elephants. They can sleep whilst they stand up if they just want to have a little snooze. Wish I could do that. It's quite a handy skill to have. Just sleep in a moment's notice, standing on your legs. Apart from standing on your head, I suppose. You always stand on your legs, don't you? It's an odd thing to say. Oh, it's early, it's cold. But it's nice to watch these elephants, though. It's really nice to see them enjoying themselves on this crest. In fact, we're very, very close to where we had the hyenas with that lion the other day. So it's interesting to see. It's a very rocky area, and it's actually... It's quite surprising to see that the elephants can climb up these rocky areas and get to some of these chutes that they normally wouldn't be able to reach when they were in the lower areas. It's very rocky, and sharp, rocky areas are not known for having lots of elephants because, of course, their feet are quite sensitive. You know, they've got that fatty layer at the bottom of their feet, and it is rather calloused or thick-skinned, but still very, very sensitive. I mean, they feel vibrations from other elephants calling from many, many kilometers away. So you can imagine if they have sharp sticks and thorns and rocks, it's not so pleasant for them. These many areas around here where there are lodges, they'll often put lots of sharp rocks and rubble around, you know, water pipes and things to stop the elephants from walking over them and trying to dig them up, because it's very dry now. And elephants are very clever. They can smell or even sometimes hear the water in the pipes under the ground, and they will try and pick them up. See, our elephant, I think, is dozing once again. See how the trunk is just hanging down and he's not moving at all. I really think he's just relaxing. Oh, the branches gave him a surprise. I hate it when branches get me when I'm trying to sleep. It's an absolute nightmare. But yeah, so they use these sharp rocks to keep the elephants from walking and destroying their water pipes. So it's quite effective, but these elephants don't seem to mind. They are walking around quite happily. We're just going to enjoy these elephants, I think, for a little while.
Welcome back, everybody. We've found ourselves in the midst of a massive cheetah game. Look at this. We can't keep pace. They keep running around and moving. It's not trying to turn us. Look at them. They're chasing all around the vehicle. There we go. Okay, they've stopped. Phew. High-speed chases. Just now I thought that the mother was going to join us in the vehicle. She was running straight towards us. And it's been good to see as well that this little female cub has been joining in the games too. That's her on the left, busy walking through the sticks, coming to join up with mum. So, although her injury does look like it is a little uncomfortable, it looks quite sore. It doesn't look, like we said, it doesn't look serious. It does look like a bit of the skin has been taken away on the inside of the leg, but she's still playing. She's still climbing trees with her brother, so all looks fine, which is a good thing. And a big relief for us, because obviously an injury that was serious to her back leg that might render her unable to keep up with mum would be quite a serious thing. But she seems all good, and I'm hoping that we're going to get to watch a lot more play. Annette, you're saying you're so happy to see them being so active. Annette, watch her. This little female's busy stalking her brother. Here they come. Here they come. Oh, come on, guys. There's mum. Look at that. Oh, it's so special. This is just what we were hoping for, everybody, to get to see these cubs and mum playing. Apparently, the lions that Steve's with are about to walk right past the vehicle, so let's go across there and have a look.
Damon, well, you've got Cheetah House. Splendid. We've got the Unguma Pride. They've decided against tackling these elephants, and they're now trying to figure out how to get past. And get a little bit of a walk by from one of Origino's boys. Can't believe how big they've gotten. The rest of the cubs are on their way. They're all little lions now, everybody. And they do have a little bit of a belly. And don't you all agree with me that their coats are looking fantastic compared to last time? Yes, some of them are missing a fair bit of fur on those mangy areas, but they don't seem to be scratching. Their fur seems to have grown back quite nicely. Oh, we're going to be surrounded in a minute. He's basically saying, I'm not scared of elephants where everyone's going. That's got to be one of Amber Eyes'. Look how dark its eyes are. Got to be. Now, you see how they're walking right past the vehicle, everybody. This is something that they choose to do. We position ourselves in the right spot. And if they do walk past us, well, like if you saw me on the show yesterday with the elephants, they walked right up to the car. These animals choose to do so. They're not showing any signs of negative behavior. They're just deciding, we're not too scared of you, we're going to walk right past. So don't think of it as them being tame, though. Not a tame animal. Please don't ever think that. If I got out of the car into them while they're this close, things could go very, very different. Okay, so there's still a few coming, but I'm going to reposition and get around to the rest of the pride that has walked past us. There's only a few of the youngsters still behind, still interested in the elephants. Maybe they haven't quite had a life lesson yet. 3 of the cubs still coming. Give us a few moments just to get ahead here. They're going to come out right on my famous junction, everybody. Getting straight there. Okay, so wonderful to see the pride looking so strong. It is the Lion Luck Junction. They love this junction, everybody. This junction with Balanites, Zoe's and Rebecca's. It is the place. Oh, I'm going to have to stop in a second here. I know the light's not going to be the best. Sorry about that, Niels, but I can't get to the right. There's a huge stump. So we're just going to have to deal with what we have. There's one of our young lionesses. I'm trying to think who she is. Doesn't have any particular ears. I think this is Chella. She's very interested to know what's going on with the cubs, so she's going to walk back. Yes, it is Chella. She's going to walk back and make sure they're all keeping up. And, well, we're going to do the same.
We are keeping up with these elephants. Not that they're going very far, very fast, but they are enjoying this fallen tumble of branches and all the hidden gems which they are unearthing as they kick about with their feet and use their very sensitive trunks to pick up little tasty morsels. See what that elephant is doing? It's lifting up the branches with its foot in order to get underneath. It's actually amazing how they use different parts of their body. They're not as dexterous in their feet as we are, but they use the trunk to smell what there is, and they use their feet to kick it off, and then they pluck it with their trunks. See, right now I think they're actually lifting up the roots of this tree which was pushed down at some point. They're busy plucking up the roots and little bits of grass and things. It's very, very clever to see how they do it. And sometimes we find whole trees that have been pushed onto the road. Same story. It was a dead tree. The elephants then lifted up and pushed over, and you can see the tree has a flat side and then a round side. The flat side is where it was lying down. So the elephants are very good at that. These particular elephants, these are very large bulls, and so they are the ones that do most of the pushing around. Remember, elephants are ecosystem engineers. So they are constantly modifying these ecosystems to suit what they need. And in doing so, they open up areas. See, this area behind them is fairly open, probably due to elephant activity in the past. And they create little habitats for many other small creatures. This tree that's now fallen down will probably serve as a home for mice and small birds, many types of insects, and then it will become just a whole habitat in itself. So that's why elephants are keystone species. They modify habitats specifically for themselves. You can see quite a few elephants around, and then you can see here it's a bit thicker, and these kind of bushes will eventually over time get smashed down by the elephants. These are mostly sickle bushes and wattle trees, and these are... Oh, elephant, you have a runny tummy. That's not so great. You need to eat more fiber, my friend. You need to follow the example of these larger elephants and eat some more of those roots. Stop plucking at that grass. It's not ideal. Emma's saying it's not ideal. No, it's not ideal at all. We need these elephants to be in top condition. No, but it's super great to see the elephants engineering these ecosystems. Remember that Pride Lands has only been part of the Greater Kruger. It's only been open to the Kruger National Park and surrounds for the last few years. In fact, only for about a year now. So it means that slowly as the elephants move around here, they're going to modify these habitats, which they've been denied access to for about 50 years or maybe longer. And so it's wonderful to see that they're going to start turning this place into what would have been more of a mosaic with some thick patches and some open patches. It's a slow process though, but very important and amazing to watch. You know, maybe in a year's time, if I spend time somewhere else and I come back to Pride Lands, it'll be amazing to see the dramatic change in what the habitat looks like after a few years of elephant activity. Certainly looks very destructive, but it's... Oh, there was a starling that just landed nearby. The elephant did not like that. Amazing to see how elephants react to the smallest things. You know, there's always that saying that elephants are afraid of mice. And it's actually quite interesting how whenever there is a small creature that scuttles past or lands near them, they always seem to have a little freak out. I suppose it's because they're very calm-natured all the time. And so when there's little creatures like mice and birds that are always moving around so quickly, elephants get a bit frustrated with that potentially. Tweety says that they love spending time with these elephants, or with elephants in general. Tweety, I agree. It's wonderful to reach up. Wow, that's amazing. Nope, didn't like that, whatever that was. Tweety, it's awesome to spend time with elephants, especially bulls like this, which are so calm and relaxed. You really can feel that sense of majesty as these elephants just move through. They allow us to be so close to them. And you know, these younger bulls, like the three in front of us, are learning from these older, calm elephants. Without them, they'd probably be rambunctious teens. Oh, that's not a problem. You can stick with us because this is beautiful. We've actually also just noticed that the elephant, which has the one short leg, is also right in front of us, which is amazing. It's great to see him still hanging out with this other group of males. Yeah, it's the Magnificent Seven, we'll call them. Not the Magnificent Seven from the Kruger Park with the huge tusks, the big tuskers, but we'll call them the Pridelands Seven. Yeah, it's awesome to see them so close to us. And there's a lot of other small things around as well, like these drongos. Drongos just in front of that elephant in the front of the picture there, which is just blown off now, catching little insects that these elephants disturb as they walk through this area. Man, I'm so glad to see our stumpy-legged friend hanging out with us, given as good as he gets. Ooh, navigate those spiky branches, be careful. Sometimes when we're driving, following animals, we have these sickle bushes coming close to the car, and man, they are sharp. Look how gingerly this elephant just snaps that branch off. Actually, it doesn't look that ginger, to be honest. That looks aggressive. They've got such tough skin, but at the same time so sensitive. They won't let birds land on them. They'll crunch these spiny branches like they're toothpicks. You can really hear them crunching. Oh, you can see the spikes. Oh, it's going in his mouth. Ouch. They've got very wide teeth, sometimes the teeth in these large elephant bulls can be almost as wide as your hand, and so they can really crush these thorns without them piercing their gums and stuff. Hey there, old buddy. So this is that elephant we saw the other day with the limp on his back right leg, but not bothering him at all. Right, these elephants are going to be walking through here. I'm going to send you to some kudus also walking through the bush.
Just wanted to stop. There's a big kudu bull right in front of us in the road. And what's so nice about it, often when you see kudu, they often dart into the bush, so you won't be able to see them for long periods of time, but how beautiful and elegant. Almost notice how those back feet are stepping into the tracks of the front feet. I'll tell you now why they'll do something like that, but I think maybe we can try and reposition, and hopefully there's a chance we can get another view of these kudus. So we want to do it slowly, because the thing about kudus, often if they do get a fright, they'll tend to run into quite dense areas in order to hide away from us. So we'll just slowly approach and hopefully they'll stay. So just a good update. This morning we found the tracks of the lioness with the 2 small cubs. We tracked them all the way into a drainage line. Now we're doing a loop around to see if there's any tracks crossing over this road. There's nothing yet, so that's good news. It means that she's probably somewhere between where we are now and where we last saw the tracks. Just want to have a look at this kudu here. Here we go. He's a very relaxed male. I'm just going to lower my head out of the way. So as we are going to continue just to follow these tracks, let's send you across to Steve. Apparently he has lions moving through the bush.
Good luck, Nikki. I hope you find those lions. We found ours still. That is Purple Eye that's walking past. She's got quite an injured back right leg. When we first found her, she was actually limping a bit. But now that she's been walking, it seems to have righted itself. There goes Chella. Wonderful little family. She's walking a little bit tentatively there. Beautiful light. This is what I talk about, a delicious light, everybody. Now, the lions have managed to skirt the elephants, and now started heading back west, which is disappointing, because at the speed that they're moving, very slowly, but at this sort of speed, they're coming up again in the front channels if you want to get them. A nice little walk by again. Here comes Amber Eyes. So if they do continue, they are definitely interested in food. They are sniffing, they are looking, they are interested. Kalana lions are a little bit heavier, well, a lot heavier than leopards, and the charging speed of a leopard is 92, 93 kilometers an hour. The charging speed of a lion is 90, so it's really much of a muchness, but they are incredibly fast over a short distance. So you're looking at about 24 feet per second versus 21 for a lion. I don't think that really matters to you or to any of us. That speed is next level fast. They can't maintain it for very long, but they can spring load. They are so muscular and so powerful that they can... Niels, the cubs are coming from the front here. We're going to see them playing. Sorry to change your mind there, but they're playing in the thickets over there, and soon they're going to start emerging, one after the other. This is exactly what cubs do best when lionesses are on the hunt or on the move. The cubs start playing at the back, completely unaware that shopping is in progress. Very important motor skills, tackling skills that are taking place. Also a little bit of tracking, because when they lose them, see how this one's head is a bit low? It's not exactly sure where they went, but it can smell. It can actually follow a barrier of smell. See how it'll follow the exact same pathway. Now, I wish I could do that. I wish I could walk through these grasslands and just smell where the leopards or lions have gotten to. Unfortunately, I can't. But we are going to stay here with these lions. They're going to walk past us. We're just going to wait a moment longer for the cubs to walk past. They're all slowly coming. They would rather play than go shopping. We know that feeling, don't we, sometimes when, not me personally, but when you want to go shopping and it's a necessary part of existence, the kids want to play. They don't actually want to go shopping. They want to go play. And so this play is very important for their skills, for their technique. Scratching, tackle my big brother. Oh, punch, punch. It's not just tackling of prey, it's also fighting. The way that they attack each other is a similar way to the way they're going to fight each other or adults when they're older. And the way they hold onto the tree there is the way that they'll hold onto the rump of an animal to pull it to the ground. It works much better against something that can't kick back or horn you back. Very important skills being learnt. I wouldn't like to be that tree with those claws and teeth digging into me. Here we go. Here comes the charging speed of the lion. You're loving the analogy, everybody. It's so true, isn't it? Kids just want to play. Kids don't want to sit in the trolley or the pram and just sit there. They want to play. And supermarkets have that tendency to put all those toys and sweets at kid level, don't they? That drives me mad. And I've never had a kid to transport around the shopping centre. Thankfully, these lions don't have to go shopping, per se. They go hunting. But the behavior of the cubs can really influence. Oh, there we go. This is how you pull down a buffalo. I think the adults have slowed up behind us. I can hear some growling, which makes me feel like one of the cubs has attacked one of the lionesses. The lioness said, "Enough! You've got enough friends to play with. Leave me alone." There is Chella's smallest one in the middle. That's the smallest cub in the pride. And it's doing so well. Mange hit it quite badly, but it's really starting to grow back. Oh, there we go. I'm going to attack you. Achilles. And I'm going to attack you back. Oh, everybody, we are blessed, aren't we? These magical scenes coming to you from the African wilderness are just next level. So it sounds like Trishala's managed to track down something that's a little bit more camouflaged than a lion.
I have come to give my thanks to this lovely chameleon that is next to the giant dead leadwood on Twin Dams Road, for it brought us Thandi yesterday afternoon. So I wanted to say thank you, chameleon. I actually didn't notice, but the whole time we had Thandi, who was just behind the tree yesterday, the chameleon was on it. It was just towards the bottom where it is now. Very, very well hidden. Lots of grass around. You can just see the skin. I'm sure this chameleon's very excited to have had a leopard on foot. Very cool. So it is our flap-necked chameleon, and it's the one that we saw yesterday morning. And the one I wanted to revisit yesterday afternoon when we found Thandi. It's quite a little one. I'd say it would fit in the palm of my hands. Even with the tail, and they could get really big to about 30 centimeters. This one I'd say is half that size. maybe even a little less. All of you are wondering if this is Fernando, the chameleon, which you named yesterday morning. It is. It is your Fernando. Why is that such a suitable chameleon name? I can't understand. I mean, when I heard you guys say it, my first reaction was, that's quite a cool chameleon name. I don't know what it is about the name Fernando that suits it. I see that this particular chameleon, the last couple times we've visited it, has some interesting patterns. When we saw it early that morning, yesterday morning, it had lots of spots on it, and yesterday morning as well, it had those wonderful stripes on the eyelids, on the fused eyelids. I wonder if it's just its age, or maybe this particular individual that expresses itself a little bit more than other adults do, because when we see the bigger ones, they don't display as much when they're just kind of chilling on a branch. When they see other chameleons, that's when you'll see big displays. Because ultimately the change in color seems to be an interspecific species communication. So it's for individuals within a species to signal to each other. So chameleons can tell whether there is a nice receptive female around, or whether they're in someone else's territory. All of that through changing color. Hi, Shidulu fan, you were actually wondering how chameleons protected their territory. Very slowly, but they can actually, in short bursts, move quite quickly. So they are territorial, so they do have territories. They're quite small. They'll include a couple trees, but they won't be more than a few meters squared. If another chameleon comes into their territory, they'll change their color. They usually become quite dark, and they can even get yellow in the mouths. And that would signal to this other chameleon, hey, you're trespassing. At that point, the other chameleon should say, I'm so sorry, and turn around. But if it doesn't, then they will engage in combat, which looks a little like two kids fighting. A lot of swinging arms and things like that, but nothing that looks like it's actually going to hurt the other one. And usually, or the time I've seen it, was when one animal tried to push the other off a branch. So I haven't seen it on the ground. Interesting stuff. See, they can be fierce too.
Trish's got a chameleon that is absolutely fantastic at this time of the year. It's really, really good that they slow around there. We'd be extremely lucky out in this environment to see chameleons now with these particularly low temperatures that we've had. We are still after our wildcat. We are not giving up. We're making one more turn in this area because now this is kind of reaching the time that it's likely to be going to bed. So our chance of finding now will be slowly diminishing. But we're not going to give up, and from here we're going to head back up to the meerkats. There's a bit of a breeze this morning. It's a little bit cooler, or considerably cooler than it was yesterday. Not cold, but cooler. So I don't think those meerkats will be going anywhere too soon. And it's just so beautiful being out here. Yeesh. But I get so excited. I'm like get so jumpy like this because I'm always on edge, expecting to see something pop out at any moment. Like a wildcat. And the problem is you get like all these little mounds of sand and you get little clumps of grass and bush, and often these things are They look so much like a cat or something at a distance. So this is where we had it yesterday. Out to our left over here, and it just trotted very slowly. It wasn't fast, but it just trotted across this clearing on our left-hand side over here. Jean's doing some contortionist moves over there. Why don't you use your hands to move the camera, Jean, instead of your feet? It's probably going to work better. No. But yeah, so he came trotting from left to right over here and into those thickets. And there's a big weaver nest inside this thicket up ahead here. And very often these cats will actually sleep inside these weaver nests, particularly if they've got like different staggered levels. So if you've got a couple of big branches on a tree and these weaver nests get really big, sometimes you get a patch of the nest on one branch and a patch on the part underneath it. And then you get these hollows and these gaps in between those two layers. And inside there, you sometimes get owls nesting, cats living, jennets in there, all sorts of weird creatures. So, and I think maybe that's where that wildcat is being a snoozer-licious in the mornings. Well, at least someone else has a cat for you this morning.
Yes, Dylan, well, I hope you find your wild cat. We do indeed have a cat. We have a pride of cats right here. One has gone on top of the Terma Mound, is about to be pestered by a little youngster. Who's the king of the castle? Can you see the one on the left there now, Niels, just above her? I'm the king of the castle. Yes. So, like leopards, lions are also quite commonly found on top of termite mounds as a form of elevation. And this is the young one of the younger lionesses. Nikki, I think her name is. I think she's the one who is missing for some time. I've got to just double check. Yeah, I think it is. And she's one of the younger ones, so not really the one who normally leads the charge, but she was on her own for some time. Oh, that's wonderful on top of the mound there, Niels, if you don't mind heading back up there. That's a wonderful shot. Obviously the light's a bit backlit, but the lion's on top. Indeed. How special. Stopping and starting, stopping and starting. They are moving ever west. So I'm not sure for how long we will be staying with them for, but it'll still be a little while still because they're moving very slowly. Oh, here we go. Watch out. Oh! There's a bit of action. It was nearly a takedown. Nearly a takedown. This one in front of us, Niels wants to say hi. Annette, you love watching these guys. Aren't they special? And that is our car. And that is how close they've decided to come to us. So, move slightly in my seat. You can see the lions walking past. Oh, they've gone onto another termite mound over there. I think that's going to be even prettier than the last one. Are you ready, Niels? We're just going to have to try get around here. A little bit of through the bushes. Sorry, old girl. Purple Eye decided to run and she fell into a hole. It's okay, my girl. We're just going to wait for her to move off behind us there. She got a bit of an injured leg. You can't see her right now, everybody, but she decided to do a bit of a quicker movement, and she fell into a small hole. Will be protected by the pride. You see, that's what happens. We talk about age. We talk about male lions not surviving as long as females. Well, females can get old, they can get injured, and the pride will look after them.
Well, we are on Ingwe Alley, hoping to see maybe an ingwe. which is a leopard, for those of you who are not familiar with Shangaan. And this is the block, just to my right here, that Thandi was last in. I see some wildebeest. Just over there's a small gap there. You see it there, Theo? Bit of a gap. So this is where Thandi was lost yesterday. I suspect, embarrassingly so, that much of the time I sat there with the impala all around and knowing that she had moved into the grass and sought cover, I suspect that for much of that time she was actually not there and we might have been just staring at impala. But again, it's important to give her that space so that if she was going to get a kill, we would assist her by not interfering and being far away enough so that she could successfully go about her hunt. I see a better gap further ahead. Let's move a little further ahead.
Welcome back, everyone. Sorry about the technical issues there. Chameleons and gremlins, I think they're related, aren't they? Now we found another king of the castle. This little youngster is right on top of the termite mound. He's watching his sibling, cousin, whatever it might be. And I wonder if he's going to pounce. Very high up there. Lions are moving in a sort of leapfrog sort of manner. We're out in this open, sort of semi-open bush willow thicket or woodland, where the termite mounds in these granitic soils are fantastic. They are beautiful, they are big, and we are on top of the slope, which means that these termite mounds have got access to the water table. And you can see how grey and sort of almost white the sand is. It's very, very coarse material made out of the sandy granitic soils we find around. That's why we also get them so big up here, because the sandy, coarse materials are far bigger grained. And a splendid shot to find a lion. Or Shadulu, as is known locally. Shadulu is a termite mound. You've probably heard of the female leopard called Shadulu. Oh, that was an awkward getting up. Down it goes. And it's a game of tag. Okay, well, our lions are slowly moving off there. We're going to see if we can keep up with them. We haven't yet reached Mandoza Road yet, but I don't think we're far. Mandoza Road is Mandoza is just other side of this termite mound here, probably 100 yards or so. And they're going to go straight across that game path that we're very familiar with, not far from Philemon's cut line junction. And they're going to go straight out to Arathusa. That is the direction they're going, unless something comes up shortly. Some of you are wondering why the lions are so active. Well, they haven't eaten anything substantial that we can tell. And it's also possible the direction that they're heading now takes them to something on Arathusa, I believe, called Red Dam. There's a dam on that side. They might be headed directly towards that. But they also might be hungry. So when we talk about animal behavior and what they're doing in the moment, you've always got to consider the drivers. Is it hot? Are they hungry? Are they thirsty? Are they sexually active? Are they afraid of something? All of these drivers can make these animals more active or less active. If they're not afraid of anything, if they're not thirsty, if they're not hungry, they're going to sleep. But if any of the above outweigh their need to sleep, they'll be active. They'll be active. So when we found them, they were very, very alert, and it's possible that they are looking to catch a late breakfast.
From the biggest carnivore in Africa all the way down to the smallest carnivore in southern Africa, we're looking at a whole band of dwarf mongoose. If you look at the area where they are, you'll see there's a big termite mound with looks like a small tree growing out of it. And now early in the morning, because it's still nice and cool, they actually maneuvered their way around this termite mound just to catch that early morning sun and warm up before they start scavenging for the rest of the day. You can see the one is a little bit higher up, quite a few down, and slowly as they warm up, they'll eventually move from here. And often when they do move, you find that these hornbills would eventually, or even starlings, just all these different types of birds that often feeds off insects, will then come and join up, because as they move and disturb, and there's any grub that manages to escape, they'll go and catch it. But for now, it's just all coming out of their burrow after probably quite a cool or warm night's rest, because I can imagine all of them probably huddled together in that termite mound, and now moving out, just warming up before they start heading off for the day. Just have a look at this one lying off to the side here, just enjoying that sun. I can imagine, can't really see the eyes because it's quite far from here, but it almost looks like those eyes are shut. So when we head out onto a chair as the morning light comes out, just to warm up before we then continue. Indigo Girl, it is a big business of mongoose. I actually counted 22 of them now. So normally the groups can be anywhere from 4 or 5, all the way up to 30, I think was the most that has been recorded. Or if you look at some of the mammal books, 30 is around about quite a big group, but I think these ones are very close to it. And I wonder if there's still some inside the burrow that still needs to come out, or if this is the whole business out here, the whole band. Now I can count 21. I think one might have just moved to the other side. You can see there's one on the right there that's just moved up, using that as a little vantage point to scan and see if there's any danger around. So very similar to the meerkat Tsalo that often has, you'll find the one will be on sentry duty where it will move off and then use a bit of a vantage point to scan and see if there's any danger. I think that one has the same role to play with this whole family here. And it's very interesting if you look at the sizes of all these mongoose, you'll find that there are some that are a lot bigger and some that are small. I think there's a lot of youngsters within this particular group. And the social structure is pretty advanced. Apparently it's a male and a female that will be the two dominant ones, so like alpha male, alpha female, and then under them all the others will then help to rear whatever young might be there. But so they are led by alpha male and female. So earlier on there was some birds alarm calling, and as they started alarm calling, you can see these monkeys actually started running towards the hole, and some are now staring off to the right just to see if it was just a bird getting a fright from maybe another bird, or if there's any possible danger around. Kelly, so they do sleep in the termite mound. So with the termites, they have these chambers inside. So these monkeys will actually dig into the termite mound and then probably find one of these little chambers inside, and that's where they would sleep, spend the night. It's also a place for safety for them, because a lot of predators will struggle to get into, especially trying to follow them through those holes. And the passages inside are quite narrow, just to make sure that nothing else can get in. The other day we were fortunate enough to, and this was on the northern part of the reserve, there was a group of mongoose that actually ran into a termite mound, and this honey badger pursued them because it was, of course, trying to catch one of them. And it started digging, and I couldn't believe how quickly it started digging to try and get to them. But, of course, these mongoose, as small as they are, managed to just escape, so they didn't get eaten. Now, I think it was a few weeks ago, I read a very interesting article in terms of how do they establish dominance amongst themselves. And I would encourage the guests and all the viewers to go and read up a little bit more about it and tell me if they find the same. But apparently, what will happen is if they show dominance, they'll actually have this almost like a grooming licking competition. So they'll start licking each other. And the one that can carry on for the longest, and of course, produce the most saliva and almost cover the other one with as much saliva as possible, is eventually the more dominant one. So that's what I read, and I'll just leave it up to the viewers to go and have a look and see. So for now, with them just enjoying a little bit of the sun, we'll leave them be and carry on our way. But I think as we are carrying on, let's send you across to Trushala and see what she's up to.
Hi guys. I'm just at the den. Someone is around. It looks like Corky. Yep, that's Corky. Hello, my girl. We are all very happy to see you at the den, because that must mean that you have fed your cub. Well, I'm really glad we came past the den. And, again, you were with me just as we approached. Oh, no, girl. Okay, sit down there. So we can stay here. No? Okay. Let's move and see what she's doing. Okay, she's still there. Andrew, you say at last? At last indeed, and that is the last look at Corky. Huh. Okay, guys, well, you know what that means. But at least we know that she has been around. Her youngster was shouting for her last night. So I think, even though we don't get a great sighting of the cubs, it means that we know for sure that Corky is well, and that she is obviously visiting the den to feed her cub. I'm just going to have a quick drive around and make sure she hasn't sat down somewhere so that we can go to the den. But let's just hope that she has.
Awesome, Trish. Thank you for finding Corky. When last did we see her? Well, with the cubs, everybody lay down for a moment in the shade. The smallest cub's about to photobomb the shot. There she goes. And they're all slowly moving again. The adults are definitely hungry, it's without a doubt, but that young neck-eared lioness keeps moving. She's the one who's instigating it, and the whole pride is following her. The cubs are a little bit done with walking. They want to just chill now. You know that feeling when you also spend the whole day shopping, and now the kids just want to go home? Yeah, that's the long faces I'm seeing right now. And these fellows. But we're going to have to follow them shortly. We found ourselves in a position where we can't actually get through at the moment, so we wait for them to all to move, and then we'll follow. There's one of the big boys at the back. That's what it's going to be like as the two boys, especially the older ones, get older and older. They're always going to be at the back, doing the least amount of work, but as soon as something happens, they'll be the first ones in there to bash everybody around. Very judgmental, you see. Very judgmental on what everybody else does. How awesome. What a splendid morning we are having. Well, we're going to obviously carry on. Everyone's commenting on how big they've become. Can you believe it? It was a year ago that I first found those. I first saw them. I was in the Mara when I think Jamie had them the first time. And when I came back, they were the only two cubs with the pride when I had my oh my word moment. And they were only little. Okay, well, we're not going to go through there. Aardvark holes and diggings. And amazing how quickly this pride can just disappear. So, another termite mound up ahead. We're not far from that road I mentioned before, the one called Mandoza that takes us up to the Gowrie mast. But we're keeping up with them now, and we'll send you over to Trishala, who really, really does love her hyenas.
I do love them, and thankfully, Corky is just sitting behind the mound. She obviously didn't like the sight of me, so she just sat down behind the mound. And if you notice that there's some mongoose on top of the mound, so our hyena cubs are actually sharing their space with the business of mongoose. So this is quite nice because it lets us sit here and wait a little bit, although I haven't heard anything from the den. So I think that our lovely little ones might actually be asleep, nice and toasty down there. Corky used to be so used to the vehicle, well, not used to, but so tolerant of the vehicles. And now she's behaving a little bit like Intima. Well, I mean, I haven't seen Corky in a long time, but she's a little bit like Intima in that she prefers to have a larger personal space. So she doesn't dislike it, or she doesn't run away from it. She just likes to move further away from the vehicle. She's just behind that bush there that Theo's showing you, in that gap. And she is flat. Well, at least we have our mongoose to keep us company. Kevin, you'd like to know if I think that Corky will try and snatch that mongoose for some food. I don't know why that question seemed so funny. Snatch that mongoose. Because I feel like that's just the type of thing that Corky could do. And she would try. But mongoose are small, nimble, quick. And they have an anal gland. Something that is not very tasty. Not at all. In fact, Corky or hyenas and mongoose are more closely related than they are to dogs and cats, a group called Feliformes. Well, thank you, mongoose, keeping us company while we wait for the cubs. I'll send you over to Dylan in the meantime, see what he's getting up to at Swallow.
So from one mongoose species to another, we are with the meerkats, as you can see, and they only came out about 15 minutes ago. So it was quite a bit later than they did yesterday, and that's based purely on the temperature. Remember, I mentioned earlier, we got a bit of a breeze this morning. It's a little bit cooler than it was yesterday. So that would probably account for getting up a little bit later. We've done a brief sweep of the area here. In other words, we've walked around the area just checking for any signs of other animal activity. We've had a couple of spring hares, and I see scrub hares that have been around here, and lots of rodents, but no sign of predators, which is really good. So I don't think that would have been the reason for them getting out too much later. But yes, these little ones are going to be an absolute handful now. They're becoming so active, even in the short space of time that they've been out. It's about a week now that they've been out of the burrows, and that, yeah, so that one's doing his yoga. I'm not even going to try that. If I tried that, I think I'd pull something. And that's what you get if you practice every single morning. It's called the meerkat scratch or something like that. It can be a new yoga technique. Okay, maybe not that one. But this constant grooming and scratching and cleaning is obviously very, very, very important for maintaining the condition. For maintaining condition of the fur and that. I'm still very, very interested to see when they're going to start moving from this burrow system, because at some point the parasite loads will actually pick up in these burrows, and then they'll start moving. And there is always that, the longer they reside at one spot, there is that potential for predation, the risk of predation to increase at that site. You know, we're going to be putting a lot more effort into this, trying to find African wildcats over the coming weeks. But that as an example, those cats will know these areas so well. And they will know, okay, there's meerkats, they've been sitting here day in and day out, and then you can start getting these little stalking events. Even if people are around, you know, our meerkats habituators, they've actually seen that before. We've spoken about this. So the presence of people, the low-key presence of people, doesn't necessarily act as a deterrent to predators on these little animals. So I'm very, very keen to see when they're going to shift the burrows. And of course, that's a key thing for us to make sure that we don't miss which burrow system they actually go to. Because I don't want to go back to square one on trying to locate these animals again. And they've got a massive area, you know, that whole field of view that we're looking at all the way down the bottom over there. This is all well within the home range of this, or the territory of this little group of meerkats. And also, we're very lucky with this particular burrow system that it's in a very open area. It's very conspicuous. There's lots of individual burrows within the system, But as we've seen before, a number of weeks ago, before the pups were born, they were using a tiny little, very obscure little burrow system. Some of you that were with us may recall it. Just a couple of scraggly bushes, and I think it was just like one, maybe even two holes there. That was it. So, they could move to a burrow like that, but it will just be a matter of keeping tabs on them and following up very, very, very carefully. Yeah, I know these little pups are adorable, eh? And you see how fast they're starting to move. They're really getting their motor drive coordination. Josh has said, leading on from what I was saying there, Josh is saying it's really interesting to see the evolving dynamics of these meerkats. Absolutely. Not just the physical development, but in other words, you can see how fast they're starting to move now. They're becoming a lot sharper. Their motor drive skills, their coordination is improving daily. And then also the interactions with the adults. They're not just like sitting huddled in one spot, kind of like wobbly, and that they're actually interacting with the different adults. They've just gone over to that one that's doing a little bit of burrow maintenance there. And the alpha female is actually one that's just 2 feet to the right, closest to me now. And again, and it's not a sad thing, it's just the way nature works, we are down to 3 pups. Remember, we started with 5, and from day 1 when they came out, we could see that there was one, maybe even a second one, that seemed a little bit weaker than the others. So we're down to 3, perfectly normal.
Welcome back, everyone. We left our mother cheetah and her 2 youngsters as they were resting in the thickets not too far from here, and we've just been driving through some of the hilly woodland, and we came across a large herd of impala that were staring fixedly down into the valley in front of me here, busy alarm calling. And so we've kind of been driving around trying to see what it was that was causing them so much distress. We can still hear the odd alarm call now coming from that direction, so I think we'll go and check there next. But just while we're here, we managed to find quite an interesting little thing out here in the grass, and look at how it's kind of shaped a little bit like a nacho corn chip. I suppose it even looks like one. It's quite thin as well. But this is the scute from a leopard tortoise's shell. I couldn't find the rest of the shell, unfortunately. This was all interesting to see. Is have a look at all these little lines here, and they're all kind of oddly spaced apart, and they all come towards the center here, and on the center part, if I feel there with my finger, it's worn quite smooth. And so these are kind of the coverings of the bone of the shell. And just like with a tree, we can use these rings or these little lines to help us to age this tortoise. Now, lines, depending on how much growth they do and depending on the species of the tree, it's similar with these tortoises. So sometimes they might lay down more than 1 ring in a year, sometimes just 1. So we can't get an exact number to tell us exactly how old it was, but by counting the number of rings, we can kind of get an was. And also judging by the distance between the rings, we can tell how much growing that tortoise did in that year. Obviously, in times of plenty, with there was a really good amount of rainfall and good grass, good food availability, this tortoise would have grown more. But then if there was maybe a very bad drought, it would have grown a bit less. And yeah, unfortunate that we couldn't actually find the shell of the tortoise. It's maybe been carried off by maybe a hyena. Maybe even very old, and it's been crunched up and dissipated. Indigo Girl, you're saying this is quite a large scute, and Indigo Girl, yes it is. And so if I had to estimate this, just looking at the scute here, it looks like it maybe came from the back kind of corner of the shell. And so I would imagine that it would have been probably about maybe that big, the tortoise, when it was still alive. Which, yeah, is quite a big tortoise, Indigo Girl. Of course, the leopard tortoise being the biggest species of tortoise that we get here in this part of the world. I'm going to leave this where I found it. We're going to carry on to go see if we can find what's causing those impala to alarm call.
Thanks, Damon. Well, as you all saw earlier, impala alarm calling can be very fruitful. Very fruitful. We are with one of the young lionesses. She's the one who's very eager to find some food, and she was the one on top of the termite mound that charged forward when you were last with us. And now she's been looking back into the block. The wind is coming from directly in front of us, everybody. It's now coming from her left-hand side. There's very nice tracks around here of zebra. There's some wildebeest tracks as well. But she's now been looking over to the right to see what the rest of the pride is doing. We can't really see any more of the members. We do have another vehicle with us, though. So when this starts happening, lions move and they start moving into a line, spreading out across sort of like a little face. It's important to give them lots of space. They could be trying to encircle something that we haven't seen. Their communication with each other is very visual. A lion looking in a direction gives the other lion a very good indication of what it's doing, where its intention's at, and then potentially there can be a bit of a flanking maneuver or just an outright chase. So it starts to get into that time where the cubs have been playing probably the whole morning, and that's why they haven't been very successful. Let's move up here slightly, Neil, so we can get you another view of that lioness as she moves back towards the pride. Butterfly, she does have very hungry eyes. I'm just going to stop here, Neil, so we can watch her as she makes her way back to the pride, because I don't want to go back in there at the moment, because they definitely seem to have their idea on something. When you can see the whole pride, everything's cool, and suddenly they're split up like that, you don't know where the others have gone. As I was saying, they've probably been busy all morning, and the cubs have been playing and causing all sorts of drama. And the lionesses have probably missed a few times. So this is where the cubs start getting a little bit more tired. They realize that their playing is not influencing, or is influencing their empty bellies. And so they slowly start to sort of hang further back and further back. And from 4, 5 months, 6 months, 8 months, cubs start really observing what the lionesses are doing. Not necessarily partaking in. They partake in the food once it's been caught. But they don't do any of the hunting. Okay, well, it looks like everybody's starting to relax. They're slowly, casually sauntering over to a shady spot over there. So let's go catch up with them. But you never know what could happen next.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Yeah, so these little meerkats are just still up and down, up and down, up and down. I think it's going to be a little while yet before they actually go out foraging. But these pups are just being so cute. And I think they also, now that they've actually woken up and they're starting to become active, I think they're also going to start getting hungry quite quickly as well. Because remember, we're talking about these small-bodied animals, how they can lose heat very, very quickly. You've got a large surface area relative to your body mass, so you lose heat quickly. And particularly on a morning like this where you've got a bit of a breeze, your ambient temperature is a little bit lower, as well as the real field temperature than it was yesterday. So not even just these adults, these adults are kind of okay, but these pups will be burning through a huge amount of energy very, very quickly. So I think the foraging for them on a day like today will be quite important. And the fact that they're also still doing a lot of burrow maintenance at these systems, there's a lot of digging going on. I don't think, coming back from what I was asking just now, in terms of just wondering when they're going to start shifting from these burrows, I don't think it's going to be any time in the next couple of days. I could be completely wrong. But just seeing how much activity there is at these burrows in terms of like these little guys digging here. This is like we want to maintain these burrows, and there's a good reason for doing that. So, yeah, I can't see them just pulling out willy-nilly today, for instance. But you don't know. You know that I mean, there's things that happen in meerkat world that we don't know about. UJ's just asked a really cool question there, and the question that's been asked is, do meerkats and mongoose compete over territory and have or have fights over it? Why I think that's a really interesting question is, okay, number one, meerkats are a mongoose, so it's just a different species. So the question there is really, well, would you get interspecific competition? In other words, you get intraspecific, which is within competition within the same species. That would be this meerkat group versus another meerkat group, and that we know happens. So within the species, yeah, absolutely, you can get different meerkat groups competing for territories, fighting. But where it gets more interesting is, what about things like other mongoose species? The particular one that they would encounter probably on a regular basis out here would be the yellow mongoose. And because yellow mongoose go in much, much smaller family groups, 3, 4, 5, 6 at a time, you know, they'd normally be outcompeted by these guys that can go. This is a very average sized meerkat group for swallow. We've had groups here of 20 plus animals. There's no ways a group of yellow mongoose will be able to stand up to that. And although the feeding patterns are relatively similar, you know, there's just so much space and there's just so many burrow locations out in this environment that there's normally very little requirement for active competition between them. However, that being said, I have seen them co-inhabit burrow systems. Now, remember what we talk about when we say a burrow system? It encompasses all the burrows within this little area that we're sitting on here. So Jean is on the far side, I'm here. It's probably 18 yards across by 10 yards wide. There's probably 20 different holes over here, and occasionally you can get a little group of yellow mongoose occupying one or two burrows in the system, and meerkats occupying the others. You also see that within other species as well. So you can get meerkats occupying some, and ground squirrels, for instance, occupying some of the holes. So that's a nice question about that, Joe. Competition is healthy. It's what drives these systems. You know, whether it's competition between grazers or browsers for forage, competition between plants for light, for root space, which is water, nutrients, photosynthesis, all of that kind of stuff. It could be competition for nesting sites. I'm just throwing out an example. If you look at a cliff nesting species, which we don't have here, but birds like vultures that would nest on cliffs, they would obviously need, or falcons, they would need ledge spaces that are adequate to get their nests on. So competition doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a physical confrontation between that meerkat and that mongoose, or that meerkat and another meerkat. It could be competition on so many different levels, and plants are a really nice example, because what we're seeing here, there's this constant battle going on all around us that it's just happening in such slow motion that we actually normally not aware of it. But every single thing that we're seeing here is competing as I'm standing here for space, for light, for water, for nutrients. And it's really fun. Just think about that a bit.
It is very fun. In fact, you just look at a landscape and you think, oh, it looks so peaceful. And in fact, all of this is going on. Competition for nutrients, space, fighting for oxygen, sunlight. It's very interesting. Here we have Corky. Lying up, looking very peaceful. And I think that it is nap time at the den, both for Mum and the little ones. So I actually thought, let me show you Corky, and then let's head out. Let them enjoy this really nice morning. I feel I can feel spring coming along. It's just certain smell in the air and some moisture in the air that I haven't smelled in a long time. Please remember I had the request for pictures of Corky with Plonk. Anna Marie, you said that Corky gets quite a bit of rest now that she's not matriarch. Strange you should say that, because being matriarch comes with all of these wonderful advantages. You get to eat better. You get to have all the shady spots. Your cubs are not touched by anybody. But because the hyena social system is openly competitive, you can have higher stress levels at certain times. And not being matriarch now means that she probably has a reduced amount of stress. But then she has a different type of stress. She's subordinate now. So now her stress will be more about whether she can eat enough, whether she'll have enough kills, whether she can produce enough rich milk for her youngster. So being matriarch doesn't mean I have no stresses at all, which I think is very interesting. I guess like with humans, just because you're rich doesn't mean that you have nothing to stress about. Alright, I think we're going to leave them for the morning. Let them enjoy this beautiful soft sunlight. And I'm going to send you over to Steve with a hungry lion.
Thanks, Trish. You with your hyenas. Still we are with the Nkuhumas that have just moved back a little bit further east from where they were before. It's not easy to get a very good view of them at the moment. There's one lioness here at the moment. It looks like Chela, who's up. Or is it Ridge Nose? I think it's Chela. Any of you get an idea on her, please let me know. It's definitely one of the mamas. It's one of those questions we get asked sometimes. How do you know it's an adult and not an adult? And by the time they're 2.5, 3 years old, it's very hard to tell the difference between an adult and a sub-adult lioness. They're pretty much the same size, but yes, can you still see her there? Do you want me to move for you? You're right. She's still here. But when you see the mammary glands, you can tell who an adult is who's had cubs, because the mammary glands are more distended, they've been suckled, where the young lionesses haven't had any suckling, so they're not very well developed mammary glands. And on this individual, there's actually moisture. You can see they're still being suckled at the moment. They all seem to want to be finding a nice shady spot now, as 9 o'clock has struck. It's time to find a shady spot, and we will try and reposition for you shortly. There is a lion. Could you imagine trying to find these guys in this woodland? Their camouflage is just next level.
So we've had a good look around, everybody. We've been using our binoculars and scanning very carefully, trying to find what's been causing these impala to alarm call, and we just haven't been able to find anything. There's a very dense thicket down in the valley there, and perhaps it was a leopard that maybe walked past the impala and then disappeared into those thickets. But just driving through the woodlands here in the hills, we've come across this tree that's been pushed over by an elephant. It's called a red ivory tree, and it's quite a common species in these mountainous woodlands. But what caught my attention on this tree is, have a look at this. And you see there's this strange looking black mass on this branch. And if we look around the rest of the tree, they are growing all over this tree, almost like a fungus or like a parasite that's in this tree. And these are called galls, and they're caused by little insects. There's many different species of insects that will cause galls like this. Some of you may remember we had a look at that balloon thorn a little while ago, and how the thorn had swollen because of the ant having stung the thorn. It's a very similar kind of concept here. So insects like wasps, ants, and even things like midges will cause these galls by stinging or otherwise attacking the plant basically and causing it to swell up. And they'll do it for many reasons. Like we said with the ants, they'll actually live inside that thorn. This gall, if it is a midge caused by midges, it's perhaps a place where the midges can live, where their young can develop inside this little structure here. But yeah, quite amazing to think that it's a tiny little insect that causes such a big and almost grotesque looking growth on this tree. Also just amazing to see that this red ivory tree is still growing, considering that it's been flattened by elephants. Yeah. Very interesting. Right, we're going to carry on, everybody. We're going to go check. There's some clearings behind us. We're going to go see if maybe we can find some warthogs or some inyalas that might be coming out into the morning sun to come and feed on the grasses and on the forbs. And yeah, hopefully we come right. Sam, you're saying apparently, you say that you didn't realize that it had been knocked down. It just looked like a low-growing tree. It does look like that, Sam. And yeah, if you had driven past it quickly, then that would be very easy to think that. And let's just go back and have a look at that tree as well, just while we're here, because have a look at, and this is maybe why it's so easy to think that it's just a low-growing tree. Look at how the trunk is growing out of the ground at an angle kind of almost horizontal, parallel to the ground, but then look how the branches are growing vertically straight up. And that, I suppose, tells us that this tree has perhaps been pushed over quite a while ago, and that the tree has already adapted, its growth has already changed direction, growing upwards and away from the ground, trying to get more sunlight. So yeah, it's been a while since this tree was pushed down, and excellent to see that it's still in good health and growing well. Also a tree that we really enjoy here in KwaZulu-Natal, and particularly here in the south of Phinda, where we have quite a lot of them, in that they, during the summer months, produce the most delicious red fruit. It's a tiny little red berry with a large seed in the middle, but it tastes absolutely delicious. Not unlike, I think the only way that I can describe it is it tastes like a mixed berry jam. Super sweet and super tasty. And a tree that many different kinds of animals will come and feed on. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, we're gonna, as I said, move on from here. I think it would be really nice if we could try and find a big group of warthogs feeding in the morning light. In the meantime, though, let's go have a look at some meerkats over at Tswalu.
I'm having such a chuckle. There's this one adult that's trying to catch this meerkat, this pup, and pick it up and carry it back into the burrow. Oh, he just got it right. And it was absolutely hilarious because, so there's 3 of the adults, including the alpha, that has moved, they've moved out. They've got one pup with them. But one of these babysitters is always so adamant that when the group goes off foraging, he wants to actually keep these pups back at the burrow. And this one little pup didn't want to know anything about it. He kept running away from this adult every time I tried to grab him. But you can see eventually, like, just persisted, like, okay, you are going back to bed, young man. So they are starting to move out foraging now. And they have one pup with them, which is really interesting. The other one is not even, there's one sitting on the edge of the burrow, totally nonchalant, just not worried about going out foraging with the rest of the group, not even making any attempt. And the other one was taken below ground. So just interesting to see these dynamics, like we were chatting about earlier. And you'll slowly start seeing these little personalities developing in each one. And about the missing 2 pups, well, you know, these things happen. You know, you can comfortably work on a 50% survival rate. Yeah, and sometimes, depending on conditions, obviously, sometimes even less than that. You know, if they had a good rainy season, but then we had extremely cold, long, dry winter, yes, you can have even a lower survival rate. So the fact that within a week after emerging, and it just shows just how harsh these conditions out here can be. Within 1 week of emerging, you're already 2 pups down out of 5. You know, I mean, that's, you know, these environments are not, these environments are really, really tough. Again, and also, in all fairness, we don't know what caused those 2 pups to disappear. For all we know, it could have been a African wildcat. Sorry, I missed that question. Stefan asked something about something hunting meerkats. What hunts meerkats? Okay, Stefan, yeah, you actually took the words straight out of my mouth there. I was just saying that, you know, we don't know what happened to those 2 pups, but it could even have been an African wildcat, and that was exactly Stefan's question there. Will African wildcats hunt meerkats? They are a very, very important predator, certainly in our area. They are an important predator on African wildcats, and Jandra and I, we actually watched one the other day that was literally on top of the burrows. It was actually waiting at the burrows, and then unfortunately it wasn't live. This was 50 minutes after the drive had finished. But we just carried on scavenging around for African wildcats because we really wanted to try to find one. And Veronica Meerkat called us and said, oh, she's got an African wildcat sitting at these burrows now. So we went down there, and true as Bob, there it was just lying on top of the burrows, excuse me, just waiting. And after 10 minutes, it actually made this mad dash, dived head first into one of the burrows. Now, it couldn't get down the burrow entrance, but there was a flurry of digging, and then it ran off, and it didn't actually catch one. But it certainly made a very, very good attempt at it. And, you know, we've seen it on a number of occasions, them actually snatching adult meerkats. We've seen them snatching pups. So, yeah, in terms of a ground-based predator, they would be very important. Caracal would be very important. Jackals are well known to catch meerkats. Then your birds of prey. This pair of goshawks that's moved into an area, that's not going to sit well with this group of meerkats. They will not like those goshawks. Yeah, so they've got so much to contend with, though. But yeah, those pups, who knows? It could be. I won't even hazard a guess as to what caused their demise, but you know, it's to be expected.
I do indeed. Those little pups are so cute, aren't they? How cute are those little meerkat pups? I saw them yesterday. It was just so special, so precious. Well, we are with the Nkuhumas still, everybody, and they are slowly settling down. Into the shade. They're still a lot more alert than you would expect them to be this day. This just goes to show that they are some hungry bellies. And I don't know where they came in from last night. I picked up their tracks right in the middle of Djuma. They'd gone all the way south yesterday, and it doesn't seem as if they've had anything substantial. Lots of mouths to feed, and that's even with 3 of the lionesses, normally with the pride, absent. Still trying to identify who is missing. Haven't yet. I actually haven't identified originos in the pride at the moment. Purple Eyes here, Amber Eyes is here, Chela is here, 2 young lionesses are here. Hello, Vic. A lone roaming female would get a hiding, I'm afraid. Even if a pride has broken up, for example, if this pride breaks up and they spend a fair amount of time apart from another group, there's a very good chance that there might be some animosity between the two prides meeting again. We've seen that quite often in the Mara. I didn't see it last year, but the Telematis and the Nkuhumas, I think, had a bit of a rev at each other. So a lone lioness trying to sort of come towards this pride. It always amazes me how they know it's not a friend without even smelling them. They can see them and they know. I suppose, you get used to seeing people and oh, that's my friend Joe over there, or hang on, I don't know who that is. Seeing lions from a distance for me is very tricky to know who they are. But lions are able to pick it up quite quickly. So you might hear some revving, everybody. One of the vehicles that joined us earlier is just being pulled out a little bit further down. They got stuck in a hole, so if you do hear that revving, just them trying to get out of an aardvark hole that I nearly got stuck in as well. These short wheelbase Land Rovers are much better at getting out of holes than a big heavy Land Cruiser. But it does happen. We do fall in these holes from time to time. Poor little Purple Eye, just limping across the side there. She's going to go find some shade. And we're going to stay here. We are not going anywhere.
We've managed to find some warthogs, everybody. I said earlier we'd be coming to search these clearings for any sign of some warthogs, and we've met with some success. We spoke earlier about how that mother cheetah and her youngsters would have been waiting for the sun to come out just to warm themselves up a little bit after a cool evening. Much the same as what these warthogs would have been doing. They would have stayed in their burrows until the sun was out and it was warm enough for them to come out and start to move about. Now that the sun is well and truly up, they've come out and they've started to feed on all the low-growing grasses and forbs and herbs that are growing in these open clearings. Using their snouts to uproot low-growing plants to get to the lovely, delicious roots, or the nutritious roots at this time of year. Look at how dry the grass is, with it being winter and the drier times of the year. Often the most nutritious parts of some of the plants are beneath the ground in the roots, certainly with the grasses. And the warthogs will obviously be looking for the best nutrition. So just having a look, see on the right there's that one adult, then there's the two smaller ones to her left, and then another bigger warthog. So just having a look through my binoculars, I'm trying to see if I can see the face of the warthog on the far right, to see if that is perhaps the mother of those piglets. Now with warthogs, we can use the warts on the face of the warthog to tell us if it's a male or a female. With males, because they need their warts they need big warts as protection when they fight, and perhaps also as an advertisement to females. A male warthog will have 2 pairs of warts on his face, so 4 warts in total. 1 beneath the eye on each side of the face, and then 1 between his eye and his nose, also 1 on each side of the face. Whereas with a female, she'll just have the warts under her eyes. And I'm going to just get the animal book out so that I can show you a picture. Shadulu fan, you're asking if warthog groups ever get big enough for there to be like an alpha pair or an alpha individual. Shadulu fan, warthog groups, just in terms of their social structure, they don't tend to kind of operate as a clan or as a herd being led by a particular individual. I suppose they do get led by, for example, in this group here, it will more than likely be, it looks like it's the female on the right, and then on the left looks like a young male, just counting the warts. So this group will more than likely be led by that female, but it's not that she won't behave as an alpha would. She won't assert herself over the other warthogs. Shidulifan, in terms of size of groups, we've seen up to 11 warthogs moving around in some of these clearings here. And then that's been a mother or 2 or 3 different mothers, each with their own offspring. I hope that answers your question, Shidulifan. But here's quite a nice picture that I can show you just to give you an idea of that difference. So we'll have a look at these warthogs up here. So see this one over here. There's only warts beneath the eye and no warts between the eye and the nose. And that helps us to identify this warthog as a female. See the large tusks, so an adult female. Then if we look at this one here, see how there's warts underneath the eye, and then another set of warts between the eye and the nose. And that identifies this warthog as a male. Looking at the size of the tusks, a young male. So perhaps the offspring of the previous year of this female here. Yeah, so a neat little way to tell the difference. But very glad that we were able to find some warthogs, seeing as we set out to try and do just that. While we enjoy them, let's go back across to Nikki at Ngala.
There was a herd of zebra that were making their way down towards the water, so we're just sitting here and waiting for them to come down. But in the meantime, while we're still waiting, there's quite a few interesting bird species coming down to drink. You'll see it's a beautiful waterhole. It's starting to warm up quite a bit now. But just having a look, I think all of them might have just gotten a fright. But right in the middle there, you'll notice there's a very bluish dark color bird. So that's the Birchall starling. You'll notice the iridescent colors, depending on how the sunlight catches it. You'll notice there's quite a bit of change in the color. And then just off to the right and left is these doves with quite a prominent ring around the neck. It's called a ring-necked dove. You'll see this time is often a time when the birds will come down, especially to drink. Right of that, from where they are now, there's these big grey birds that just came down to drink. You'll see them now as we move off to the right. See the right there moving towards the water. Now they're one of my favorite calls because it's known as a grey go-away bird, but whenever they call, it almost sounds like the bird's telling you to go away. It's like, go-away, go-away. But even just off to the front of the water screen, you'll notice there's, so some of the doves have the ring, the others have this, almost looks like a reddish color on the chest. It's a laughing dove. I mean, just often sitting at a water like this, it's amazing the amount of bird species that will come down to drink. Ella, I'm glad to hear that the go-away bird's one of your favorite. They are definitely, whenever, I mean, in South Africa, especially the central area where I grew up, we didn't get any go-away birds there, but I do associate them with the bushveld, or as they call it, the lowveld. Because as soon as you start moving away into the more denser areas away from these grasslands, you find a lot more of them. And so I do also associate them. It's quite a beautiful call, beautiful bird in this area. Might just hear as we sitting down, there's some Franklins and Spurfells calling in the background. But just an update with those lion tracks we had earlier. So the lion tracks we eventually followed, and they started heading down into an old riverbed. Now, because of how far the area is, we couldn't really go down and track them because it would have taken us too much time. But the trackers are helping us out at the moment to see if they can loop around. And if we don't find them this morning, hopefully, keep our fingers crossed that there's a chance for this afternoon. But in the meantime, we'll still be waiting here for those zebras to come down to drink. And while we do that, let's send you across back to Dylan at Swalo Kalahari with those meerkats.
So we've just been watching the most entertaining thing. Remember I mentioned how this one babysitter would keep on picking the pups up and trying to put them back. So now what he's been doing is like he lets him go like 5-6 meters and then he grabs him and then brings him back to the burrow again. And he kept on doing this repeatedly over the past 10 minutes. But he's finally plucked up the courage now and they're just moving off. So they're following the rest of the group that went foraging about 10 minutes ago. But this little chap has come on such a long ways over the past month and a half that we've been following them. At one stage, this male would not come out if we were even 20-30 meters away from the burrows. Whereas now he's actually kind of, I mean, he's still aware of us. But he's not, he'll happily sit out in the open and that. But I think what's happening now, because you see, he keeps on looking around. So exactly like I said, you see that how he picks a pup up and takes it downstairs. And then he's going to pop out and he'll sit on the surface and you're probably going to get the two little pups crawling out again. So the third one has actually moved off with the group. So he is officially the babysitter now. And already you can start seeing there's a breakup in personalities there where you got that one really precocious little one. And then the other two kind of a little bit more hesitant to go foraging with the group initially. So that would be interesting. I mean, what would be the survival chances of that individual pup compared to the two that are more cautious? Yeah, carpe diem, seize the day, or fortune favors the bold, or fortune favors the brave. Sometimes it's probably better to stay at home, eh? Life lessons. You watch those pups are going to come crawling out there just now. It's like, we also want to see. Yeah, there you go. And there, I don't know if we can, can you see them yet, Chandra? Okay, there you can see. Yvette says, glad they're getting to look at the outside world at last. Absolutely. And what a world it is. Full of excitement, full of danger, full of learning. We should all be like meerkats. Furry, smelly, and fun.
Baby meerkats popping their heads up. Our lioness's heads are popped up slightly. Oh, there's a little bit of rubbing. Hello, you. Tactile communication in lions. See those two lionesses' heads up. There's obviously a smell wafting in there. What do you smell? Do you smell the zebra tracks that we saw earlier? Now, sense of smell in these animals is incredible. They can't see or they can't hear anything, but that wind is just wafting something through to them. Even that little one is going, I can smell that on the air. You've all smelt it, everybody, when you're driving down the road and you smell a fried chips being made or something like that. South Africa, all the South Africans watching will know what I mean when they smell boerewors on the braai. Niels? The smell of boerewors. You pick your nose up and you start moving towards it. Or that's what many South Africans are very, very big fans of, a braai. And you can smell it all over the country on the weekend. And so the lions are able to pick up far, far more faint sort of receptors on their nose. And often it's the wind that will instigate the movement. Often you can have animals a few hundred meters on the other side of the lions and they have no idea that they're there because they can't smell them. And you can tell by the visuals in the distance out here, it's quite thick, quite dense. Oh, some oxpeckers have taken off just towards our right-hand side. Oxpeckers often indicate an animal. I've yet to see lions charge after the presence of oxpeckers, but it wouldn't be a first. Probably not a first. Andy, me too. I hope they wait, though, until I find them again this afternoon in time for SABC, and then they catch something. I feel for the animal that they catch, but lions are lions, and lions must eat. The whole ecology of this area is determined by it, and the survival of their cubs is dependent on them catching food. But what a wonderful morning it has been. Love tracking. Thanks, Raymond, for your efforts this morning as well with me, helping to track down those lions. Those alarm calls really did send us off. We thank you, everyone, for your questions and comments. We will see you again this afternoon, same time, same place. Until then, goodbye.